beginning with the black cat. In the United Kingdom, to have a black cat cross your path is considered a lucky omen. In other countries, such as the United States, a black cat is seen as the direct opposite and is deemed unlucky. The history of superstitions is often so deeply ingrained in societies for generations that even in this modern day of scientifically minded, hard-nosed, evidence-demanding, educated people, the long-held, handed-down beliefs are often held secretly. Animals or symbols of animals showing up in our lives, birds, cats, dogs, all manner of fauna, can hold deep significance. Sometimes animals show up to bring us messages of love, a reminder that all is well. Animals have a healing vibration, and often when we are in a happy, healthy, loving place, animals come to us naturally. Of course, there's nothing new about using an animal as a totem, as defined by Webster's dictionary. An object, such as an animal or plant, serving as the emblem of a family or clan, and often as a reminder of its ancestry. Also, the usually carved or painted representation of such an object. It is not just the symbolism or beliefs we attach to animals, it is also the psychic abilities and extrasensory awareness which is peculiar to animals. Ask any animal owner who has a close relationship with their pet. Animals often have an awareness and know that their owner is on the way home, even when their owner changes their normal routine. Whether animals are changing because of their involvement with humans, it is impossible to tell. Animals do seem to have a natural connection with the earth, leading them to turn tail and run when sensing the vibrations of danger, such as tsunamis, earthquakes, and other natural disasters. Animals trust their instincts and head for the hills. Some animals are more developed in one area than others. Just as fish are good at swimming but not so good at climbing trees, if you judge the intelligence of a fish by its ability to climb trees, it will live its whole life thinking it's stupid. This statement was attributed to Albert Einstein, but even Google isn't sure if Einstein actually said this. Some animals, like monkeys, are able to recognise themselves in a mirror, whereas most cats and dogs cannot. Dolphins are so highly socialised that they each have individual names in their pods. Personally, I would have thought that if I was visited by a dolphin, I would see it as a highly spiritual gift from the universe. Black cat on Halloween story. One Halloween, I think it may have been 2015, I was a passenger with one of my friends driving along in Leigh-on-Sea in Essex, unknown territory for her, heading for an afternoon service at a spiritualist church on a Wednesday afternoon. My friend was driving along the main road. She needed to turn right at the next turning, but she was talking and thinking about something entirely different. She drove past the turning. "Sorry," she said. "Not to worry," I said, resigning myself to the idea that we were going to be driving the long way round, double back on ourselves and get back to the right road, and we were probably going to be late. As we drove down the unplanned route, we both saw a giant white lorry parked across the bottom of the street. On the side of the lorry was a picture of a giant black cat. I shook my head in disbelief. We both enjoyed a laugh. So the wrong turning was clearly meant to happen so we could see the picture of the black cat on Halloween. Just to reinforce the idea for you, dear reader, of how much I love the sign of the black cat, I do have a tattoo of a black cat on my left wrist. It is my thing, my favourite symbol. So personally, I felt blessed, rewarded in some way by the universe. I'm a messenger from the universe. Is the feather the common garden variety? Yes, of course. And the more exotic or even fake feathers can show up when you most need it. Having a feather appear in your world, whether it is because you are walking amongst pigeons or whether you are indoors in an entirely feather-free zone, I feel the feathers are brought to us to remind us of the importance of being spiritual, as well as comforting us to let us know we are not alone. They can also point to a decision to be made, and you are being asked to choose a spiritual path. You may also be asked to act as an earth angel. Someone may ask for your help, or you may spot a chance to be able to offer your help before being asked, Feathers don't always show up in the freshly plucked from the bird variety. Sometimes fake feathers show up, all sorts of colours, sometimes stuck on a hat or a feather boa. Be prepared for your feathers to show up in whatever shape your guardian angel sees fit. When feathers show up, I see it as a notification from Spirit that our guardian angels are drawing near. Why this is happening is for you to interpret. Feathers showing up in unexpected places is one of my favourite things. You know, strolling into the library, not thinking about feathers at all, only for a feather to fall out of a book you pick up. This happened to me during a time when I was reading signs from the universe by interpreting what I call suburban symbols. This happened, you know, when written words, text in all forms, shows up in random places. So I was noticing symbols, but I wasn't looking for the feather, and yet there it was. sitting on the page of a book I opened in the library and floated to the floor. I think this is one of the most common ways our guardian angels communicate with us. Feathers fall to our feet when there are no birds about. Feathers often blow across our paths, fall on our heads, show up in the most unlikely of places, and I suspect that most people out there with an interest in spirit have had the experience of at least one white feather appearing on their paths. And while I'm here talking of white feathers, I'm reminded of a beautiful tarot reader on YouTube who I'm quickly going to recommend. White Feather Tarot on YouTube. She offers some uncanny words of wisdom and amazing readings. Feathers in the Cathedral story. I was taking an exam towards my degree and I had an hour to kill before the exam. It was raining cats and dogs, absolutely hammering it down, so I took advantage of seeking solace in the local church, which really was more like a cathedral. As I sat in the inner sanctum, I looked down at my feet and saw I was surrounded by feathers. 3 or 4 large feathers had appeared. I hadn't noticed them when I sat down, but they gave me comfort and strength to take the exam, which I did go on to pass. Now friends, bear with me dear reader, but I have pestered my friends for coincidence stories as I've been putting this book together. One of my friends went to a funeral of one of his close friends, a man in his 30s, in Scotland. Still part of the United Kingdom as I write this. My friend flew from London to Scotland for the funeral. As he stepped from the plane, a feather floated onto his foot. He felt that was a sign from his friend that he was okay and that he was aware of my friend's efforts to make his funeral. And birds bring meanings, messages, signs, omens of good news, bad news, births, deaths and marriages. You know the one about magpies? 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for a secret never to be told. Crows are messengers of news, which may be wanted or unwanted. If I hear a crow crowing, I think I'm going to have something to cry about. The more crows, the more there is to cry about. I've often noticed 4 crows showing up just before a massive change or upheaval, such as a house move. The more crows, the more there is to cry about. When flocks of birds flying overhead can symbolise a wedding. Maybe not yours, but you can expect to hear news of a wedding, or if you're lucky, an invitation to a wedding. A solitary seagull is a symbol of freedom and independence, a reminder to be grateful for both. Peacock story. One of my friends had a lovely experience with a peacock in the aftermath of her dad's death. Within a couple of weeks of her dad dying, my friend was sitting in the living room of her mum's house only to see a peacock appear in the garden. Out of nowhere. There were no peacocks in that area naturally, and my friend had no idea where he came from or where he vanished to, but she accepted it as a sign from her recently departed dad that all was well. And seeing a picture of an animal can also bring a message from your higher self. It doesn't always come in the form of the actual animal. It is the symbolism which is the key. I have a blue feathers story. Do lovely YouTube watchers. I was on holiday in Sardinia in 2022. If you ever get a chance to go there, I would highly recommend it. White beaches, clear seas, beautiful people. It was amazing. The area I was in was rich in flora and fauna and all manner of insects that I'd never seen before. Beautiful birds, cats, random dead snakes, you name it, Sardinia seems to have it. I had a few coincidences from nature while I was there. Saw a black cat cross my path, which was unexpected, and I loved the reminder of spirit. The next day, I was up early watching the sunrise. My holiday companion was still asleep and I had ventured out in search of coffee and to enjoy the sight of beautiful mountains and beaches. I found it breathtaking every time I looked at it. I was loving it, and as I was standing by the hotel pool, a bird flew down and landed on the back of a chair. It was a quite big bird with brown and blue feathers. It sat there and looked at me. I nodded at it, took a photo. It sat there long enough for me to do that. I was really drawn to how blue the feathers were. That evening I was on a tour bus, being driven through winding mountain roads towards a destination of an evening market. The bus was filled with people who didn't speak English and the air was full of excitable Italians. After a lovely evening of exploring the best that Sardinia has to offer by way of tourist tap, getting back onto the bus, having enjoyed the experience but also looking forward to getting safely back to the hotel, back down the winding roads in the pitch black, it was a little nerve-wracking. As we were driving back, suddenly there was a huge commotion in the bus. The Italian lady was jumping in the aisles and waving her arms about wildly. I saw this little dragonfly-style insect, which was a bright blue colour. It flew away from her windmill arms as she was running through her hair, clearly convinced that it had got stuck in her hair and it had landed on the headrest on the front of my face. I just sat there. The whole of the return journey back to the hotel I was accompanied by some sort of blue dragonfly. I thought it was unusual at the time, and returning home to England to a letter on the doormat. My mum's sister, my auntie Chris, had died while I was on holiday in Sardinia. Now, I see that blue feathered bird and the blue insect as being a little message from Auntie Chris, a little goodbye. Thanks for watching. Move on to category 5 next, all about people.